of the inquiry standards. There's 6 of them. And the inquiry standards exist kindergarten through 12th grade. This one is specific to the high school domain, okay? So just taking you through the process of what unpacking looks like. If you look at this document, how to unpack a standard, the first thing it says is to focus on keywords. Underneath that, highlight the verbs, in parentheses, skills. Typically, you would use the verbs to determine the assessment method. I'm not going to worry about that second sentence quite yet. Right now, I'm just going to focus on going through the process. I need to identify the verbs, and I need to get them highlighted. As we are doing this, when you're highlighting a verb, we're going to be doing this electronically, and we do ask that when you highlight, please use the typical yellow highlighting, and you'll see that. So I'm going to identify the verbs. First verb I'm seeing, construct. I actually highlight it. I use the yellow highlighter color. So now I have construct highlighted. We highlighted using. So that's a verb. We highlighted acknowledging. That is also a verb. So I keep looking for verbs, and I see that those are the only 3 verbs within this standard. I will also use this as a moment to say this is why it's important, because we've looked through where all the standards, power standards, have been housed, and I think some of us, we put in maybe abbreviated standards or just not the full standard. And it's important to have the entire standard as it is written so you can have access to all the verbiage, all the terminology within it. Okay, so number 2 would be to underline any word or phrase you believe requires direct instruction, that being concepts, content, and vocabulary. And I would say at this point, this is not just a 100% straightforward, like an algorithm that is going to give you the exact thing to do on every single standard. It is direction, and some of this is going to take discussion with the people within your PLC. Elena and I sat down and did this, and we're both versed in social studies. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but at the same time, my point in telling this is it took some discussion. It wasn't like, bam, we got this done in about a minute and a half. It took discussion. Well, what do you think? Is this going to have to be taught? Would you consider this as a concept that would need direct instruction? And we had to talk through this whole process. And I think that's a real benefit for you and your team, at least when you begin unpacking your power standards. This will help get you on the same page. So when you start doing this maybe individually, then there'll be more consistency in how you're doing it, as well as it just gives you better, you become more of an expert in your content area by understanding the standards better. Anyway, so going back to underlining any word or phrase you believe requires direct instruction. So when we did this, we said, reasoning, we're going to have to provide direct instruction on reasoning. We're going to have to provide direct instruction on what correct sequence means and looks like. Also examples, direct instruction, underline it. Details, we did details with significant and pertinent information and data. All of that is underlined. We felt that, and I think this one, actually we did this as a team also at our district leadership, and we said we're going to have to teach them what acknowledging means. So those are the things that we said would require direct instruction, whether they're concepts, content, or vocab. Okay, so that takes us to the 3rd step. And 3 and 4 are related. And once again, this is one of those things where doing this in isolation can be very frustrating. Not saying that doing this with other members of your content team, I'm not saying that it won't be frustrating doing it with them as well, but this is another example of there's not a clear answer on this. You are using your professional judgment. The more we do these and utilize our standards and our ICANN statements we derive from them, the better and more comfortable we'll feel. But right now, when we begin doing this, I think you're going to experience a lot of discomfort. You're not going to like doing it because it's not easy, and it's not going to be quick and simple. That being said, number 3 says, italicize any word or phrase that is assessed in the learning phase. Think formative assessment. So these are things that I am going to be assessing as I am teaching. And you would italicize any of those, or all of those. So there was a lot that we italicized here. Almost the entire thing. So we said constructing explanations using correct sequence, examples, and details with pertinent information and data. So we're saying if this is a power standard and we're expecting kids to do this, as we're teaching them, we're going to be seeing how they're doing. These are definitely things that we would formatively assess. We're not just going to teach it once and then give them a summative assessment and expect them to have learned it. We also italicized acknowledging strengths and weaknesses. We'd want to gauge their ability to acknowledge a strength and a weakness. We envisioned maybe having some statements or some explanations, and we would have to say, was this strong reasoning, was it weak reasoning, and giving them practice doing that, assessing there. And then also we italicized explanations, providing explanations. All right.
You underlined that, Matt.
Oh, thank you. There we go. All right, next. Bold any word or phrase where learners will create a tangible product in the done phase, i.e. summative. So if this is something we're eventually going to summatively assess, then we're going to go ahead and bold these. And so one was definitely going to be constructing explanations. We're going to summatively assess that. That is the basis of this standard. And then also acknowledging the strengths and weaknesses of explanations. That's what we came up with as, we're going to be, that would be what we would summatively assess. Now, looking at the next step says, well, there really doesn't say on that. It goes straight to additional resources, which there is a video that does not go exactly with the process that we have outlined for you. And there's also a tool that is probably more suited to what we have done that gives you a few more things to think about. And I would encourage you to use those as resources. They could help you. But really the next thing you're going to do from this is to construct your I can statements. And when you go through doing this,